Hello everyone, and as promised in the last video, today we are going to be building a P-51 Mustang. One of my, I like all World War II propeller aircraft, but, all World War II aircraft in general, but I think the Mustang is one of my favourites. You know, it's got the, not Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, but it has a Merlin engine. Even if it's an American-built version, it's still one of the best uh, piston engines ever built. In my opinion. It's very cool. I've heard a couple of them in real life. They are amazing to hear. If you ever get the chance to see one, go. But yeah, with this video, I've kind of just smushed together a load of clips to be building it because if there is a way to record for more than a couple minutes on Xbox at a reasonable quality, I don't know it. So I obviously couldn't record the whole thing, but I have got quite a few clips. There was a fairly big portion of the thing. Well, fairly big. It was like I built the propeller and stuff, and forgot to record that. There you go. Here I am building the cockpit, which is another thing I would like to work on in the future. The problem is it's always been about frames. That's the main limiting factor of my Xbox is that I can't get enough frames a lot of the time for stuff, so I have to kind of limit it in some places because I really want to have a cockpit that I can have on my aircraft where I can have it actually open and close, and I can have a little Kerbal set in there, and that'd be really cool, I think. But unfortunately, that's not usually possible without it getting a bit framey with the rest of the 300 odd parts. I think this has got slightly less because this Mustang ended up being slightly smaller than my Spitfire that I uploaded in my previous video because when I originally built my propeller, my prop planes, I made them slightly too big because I figured it'd make it easier to put the detail in if they were bigger than they were in real life, because in real life they're actually fairly small aircraft compared to a lot of jets. But with this one, I wanted to try and get it as close as possible. I think I got it within about a meter. It's not too much bigger than the real Mustangs. So I was having a bit of trouble with that as well. But it ended up having a lot less parts as well, as I said, because it is smaller. But I do want to get better at making cockpits eventually. But this is my current way of doing it. It's not functional, obviously, but it does look the part most of the time. So what I do is I'll build something like that, and then I will copy it, and then put two more on either side, and then usually it doesn't need more than that, but if it does, I will put more in as well, it usually has a lot of parts, but not as many as if I'd have just built it like properly with like the little grip pads, which is the way I built them before, but it makes like 100 odd parts. It's ridiculous. I don't know, maybe I'm just building it really inefficiently. And I also, generally speaking, like to put nose cones on front of everything because I don't quote me on this, but I'm fairly certain the way Kerbal Space Program actually calculates aerodynamics isn't based off of the shape. It kind of just takes everything into account, and if you've got an exposed surface, it will give you a lot more drag than if you just put a nose cone on it, never mind if it's in the actual aircraft or not. So that's something to look out for if you're building one of these yourself. And here's me building the plane. The plane, obviously, the whole thing's a plane. Here's me building the vertical stabilizer. It looks a bit crap at the moment. I will make it better by the end, but it does look a bit rubbish. And when I was curving the cockpit round to make it, the bubble canopy of the P-51, I accidentally made it turn the other way, and I forgot to correct it. So then I was wondering why the tail wasn't in the center, but it was because it was at a slight angle. So I had to fix that as well. And I think the other problem as well with Xbox is I often wish there was there's like a precision mode. If you hit, is it RB? It's one of the bumpers. It makes it move slower so you can place things more precisely. But I wish there was like a super precise mode, so I could really get things like really precise. Because I end up sitting there going back and forth either way, trying to get it to look nice, and it usually is slightly out, but I can try and get it close enough, And at the moment, I think I'm setting up the. Oh yeah, here it is. This is where I missed a lot. I put the wings on, and I put the propeller on with a little rotors you can see in there with some electricity, so it actually has power. And I think I'm now setting up the Cal controller so I can use it with action groups, which I forgot to actually put it on the action groups, and I was very annoyed when I went to go and actually start it all up in the first, starting up of the aircraft before I actually flew it, which should be in either this clip or the next clip. Let's be saving it because there we go. Oh well, it'll be this clip. But I ended up actually making a brand new save file to make these videos because I think my last one got a bit big, so it started to crash. Like I built like 3 things in a row and they all crashed midway through, and I was not happy because I lost all of it. Like I completely redid my A10, that crashed. I lost all of that, and I was not happy because it would have been really, really good. I also redid my previous Mustang to make it look a lot nicer, crashed, and then I ended up redoing one of my Spitfire variants, that crashed. So I just gave up and made a new file. So hopefully it might run a bit better, but here I am, realizing that I hadn't done the action group and I was not happy, so I had to do it manually. But it does turn on. And one thing you'll notice as well is because I make the actual, like, I don't know what it's called, but like the actual cone on the propeller, I make that out of landing gears, so it looks a lot nicer, I think. It looks more realistic. But the problem with that is when it spins at like 460 RPM, it like goes outwards from the, is it centrifugal force or centrifugal force? It's one of them. It makes it all come out, which is annoying because it means I have to, in the actual hangar, build them slightly more in. So when the actual propeller isn't spinning, it looks a bit daft sometimes. But when it's spinning, it looks nice because then they all expand and they go to where they should be, which is what I spend the majority of my time actually, tweaking and making it look nice with these props because it changes from propeller to propeller based off how I've actually angled the landing gears and stuff. And obviously, I have to also take them off of the landing gear action group, which is a thing you can do. If you didn't know, you can take them off of you can also put new stuff on there if you really wanted to. And yeah, it takes quite a while to get it to actually look nice, which is what I spent a lot of the time doing right at the end, which I didn't record because it was just, I would change the angle slightly, go back into the test it again, spin it up. If it looks wrong, then change it again, make it go up slightly more down slightly. You can see from this clip, it's already different. But here I am. Actually, I've already filled in the sides of the aircraft now. It's starting to look a lot like my Mustang actually now. It's it's got the little scoop underneath for the intake. I presume that is not intake. It's probably for the cooling, isn't it? But it's like a radiator. But sorry, I'm out of breath. I just spoke too much. I forgot to breathe. But I've also not put any the horizontal stabilizers on yet, nor do I have ailerons on there yet. But I believe I am about to do a test flight regardless of that fact, just because I felt like it. But oh no, here I am, finally putting on the action groups so I can actually control the plane. And I think I ended up, what I do with those controllers, so they're not just there looking a bit weird, I kind of just offset them into the plane. Because obviously, I think a lot of, I don't know, I imagine a lot of people are probably against clipping parts into each other, but I think with this, I'm going more for it looking realistic rather than it actually being realistic for the game world. If you know what I kind of mean, I don't know how to describe it, but I'm more going for it to actually look really nice rather than worrying about stuff like part clipping into each other and stuff, or parts clipping into each other. So here I am about to do a test flight with no way of controlling it at all, apart from the vertical stabilizer, which doesn't really do much when it doesn't have any way of going up or down. Here I am with the working action group for once. It must be nice to have mods on PC though, because I bet it fixes a lot of the really weird ways that the build the build stuff actually works. I don't really know. I've not really looked into it, but it must be nice having the option and not having to do stuff like making propellers out of landing gears, because you could probably just download a mod that does it. But on this part, I kind of forgot to make any more clips, so I just took a screenshot of the final thing. This is pretty much the end result Mustang, where the only real difference is obviously I put the horizontal stabilizer on there, as you can see at the back. I've got my ailerons on, which you can just about see. I changed the actual propeller slightly, and I put the exhaust on, which you can also just about see. It's a bit zoomed out. I don't know if I can zoom it in. I'm gonna see. Will OBS let me zoom it in? I don't know. Let's have a look. I don't think I can. Well, there probably is a way, but I don't know how to do it, so. Oh, and it's restarted. Hang on a minute. There's some slight technical difficulties. Where is it? There we go. Back to where we were. But yeah, it's not too much different. I spent a lot of time just tweaking the propeller, as I said earlier. And I also put a intake thing on the nose of the aircraft, where above where the engine, quote unquote, should be, where the Merlin is. So like make that a bit more smooth because there's a bit of like a dip in between the two fuel tanks I used to make the front of this fuselage, well, the whole fuselage. And I also, as you can see, also redid the vertical stabilizer now, so it actually looks nice. But I think that's all the difference. I also put some struts on the end of the wings, as you can see, because they were doing some funny stuff when I tried to turn. Because obviously they aren't connected together, it's made of 3 separate, like, rows of wing, if you know what I mean. But let's continue on with the video. It'll move on to an actual clip of the final Mustang in a moment. Sorry, I just knocked the mic there. But also, another thing as well. There it is. I think it turned out decently. It's a lot more realistic, especially than my last Mustang. I think it's probably about on par with the Spitfire that I put in the last video that I made. It flies really well, actually, but if you pull too hard, it will just flat spin, because I think I made the center of lift slightly too close to the center of mass. But other than that, it works really well. And also, if you turn too hard, the propeller kind of dips down a bit, but it's not really that big of an issue. And it flies really well. It's got a top speed of around 160 meters per second, so it flies well. And then at the end, I've just got a nice screenshot while I ramble on about other stuff quickly. Wherein this is a question for you those of my 9 subscribers. Do you want me to only upload these style videos where wait a minute, where I just make voiceovers of me building stuff or reviewing some of the planes I've already made, or should I still post the 30-second silent clips in the background while I'm making these? Because I mean, it takes me a little while to make these. This Mustang probably took me about an hour and a half-ish to make, but then I had to make the videos and I had to put them all together. But then I tried to upload it to OneDrive so I could then get it on my laptop to record this, but then that wouldn't upload from my new phone, so then I had to put it onto Google Drive, and that took about 10 minutes. I don't know, it doesn't sound that long, but obviously over Christmas I've been seeing a lot of family, so it took a lot longer than it would normally. But yeah, I hope you all had a good Christmas, by the way. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you had a good 25th of December, regardless. But yeah, would you like me to only make these videos exclusively, or shall I still upload the short 30-second clips, in the background while I'm making these? I don't know, could be a nice idea. But anyway, if you want to see me make some more aircraft, please give me suggestions in the comments. I would appreciate that. I often don't have ideas. Please subscribe, because I do appreciate it an awful lot. I hope you enjoyed seeing me build a Mustang, for the most part anyway. So, goodbye.